Hi, and welcome to The Return. Here's to everything we'll discover together. Hi, I'm MJ. I am the host of the Return podcast. And before we start this episode, I wanted to share something from my heart. I actually found Rachel on TikTok, and her story instantly grabbed my attention. As many of you know, I've had spiritual connections my whole life, but for so many years, it felt like no one really believed me. So for me, finding Rachel and seeing what she and her husband Shane have built out of their own grief, I had so much admiration for them. And this was also a validation for me. Like, finally, there are others out there who truly understand. It honestly means the world to me to share Rachel and Shane's story with you all, not just because of what they created for the 411 Together community, but because it reminds me, and hopefully it reminds you, that these connections are real and that we're not alone. Watching Rachel share her signs, tell stories, and seeing how many people have found hope and healing through her courage has touched me. What Rachel and Shane have created for 411 Together is more than just a platform. It's a safe haven for anyone who's grieving, searching for signs, or longing for connection. I know that many sharing your story out loud can feel too vulnerable and overwhelming. But here's the beauty. In this community, you don't have to do it alone. Whether you're ready to speak on video or you'd rather send a private message or a letter, Rachel holds space for every voice. Even reading stories aloud for those who can't or don't want to be seen on camera. If you're here today and you've ever felt alone in your grief, know that there is support, hope, and community ready to welcome you just as you are. So as we begin, let's honor Kenadie, the Stewart family, and every story shared in courage and love. Enjoy the conversation. Hi, and welcome to The Returned. Today, I am truly honored to sit down with Rachel Stewart, a storyteller, spiritual guide, and the heart behind 411 Together. Rachel's journey began in the depths of unimaginable loss, the passing of her loving daughter Kenadie. Through her own grief, Rachel opened herself to gentle nudges from spirit, which inspired her to share stories of connection. What began as a small space on Instagram has blossomed into a powerful movement of souls united by hope, healing, and undeniable signs from the other side. And as a tribute to 411 Together, which means so much to Rachel, her family, and her community, we'll be posting this very special episode September 11th at 4:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you, Rachel, and welcome to The Return.
Well, that was so beautiful. It brought tears to my eyes.
Oh,
You did so good.
thanks very, very
Yeah,
much.
that was really, really nice, everything that you said. And I didn't know about the timing that you were going to launch that. So thank you. That's special.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what we're supposed to be doing. It's honoring, your daughter and what she's brought to you and the world. I've got goosebumps so bad that I can feel it all the way up my neck. Unbelievable.
She's a powerful being, that's for sure.
Yeah, I did my meditation about her this morning.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I did that. I wanted her to step in if she could, so I hope
Well,
she
I bet
is.
she did.
I just felt lots of goosebumps, so
Oh,
yeah,
neat.
I'm really, really happy that you're here. And I'm so happy what you're doing for others. It really does make my heart feel full just hearing that you're doing something like this for others out of your own
Thank
grief.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, no, we were talking about it before we started the recording, but figuring out, I didn't realize that this was my goal, but now that we're doing this, my husband and I, Shane is his name, now that we've launched this and I realize that I can turn my pain into purpose. You said you like to say pain into passion.
Yeah,
Kind of same thing. It's
it
like
is.
it really lights up my world. So every morning I get up, and it's funny because you see people, they always say, don't check your phone, don't check your email, don't get into social media when you wake up. And I'm like, can we do it if it really lights us up? Because the first thing that I like to do when I wake up is I open up 411, I see the messages that people have sent me, and they're just heartfelt and beautiful, and it just lights me up. And I just think that is such a great way for me to open up my eyes and start the day. So I spend a couple minutes, 5, 10 minutes, looking at those messages from strangers all over the world that have found 411 in really magical ways, and they share that with us. And it just, they inspire me. These people, these strangers are inspiring me. So I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and keep doing that in the morning
I think
because
so.
I look forward to it, and I just feel like that's my spirit team and my daughter across the veil proving to me, like, the dream has always been that I want to wake up doing the thing that I'm passionate about. Like, I want to be excited to wake up in the morning and do it. So now I am finally, for the first time in my life, and I'm just going to keep thinking that that's a big time nudge from the team and a way to go, keep going, you're on the right path. Like, that's how I feel about that. So
Oh, I
I'm
absolutely
I'm
love
excited
that.
to be I'm excited to be a part of 411. And I always say that, like, even though we launched it, my husband and I, we didn't create this. We didn't even know what it was going to be when we launched it. We were just following the nudges from our daughter and our spirit teams across the veil. And we are just here for whatever it's going to turn into, and kind of enjoying the ride.
Wow, Rachel, can you take us back to the very beginning? What was your earliest sign? Actually, maybe we should start with a little bit of the story. Would you mind sharing
No,
that?
not at all.
Okay.
So our daughter Kenadie passed away when she was 10 years old from brain cancer. That's not the first time that she had cancer. She was diagnosed with a different type of brain cancer when she was 2. She had a brain surgery, radiation that followed, and was perfect for 8 years. So we thought, she was healed. There was nothing we hoped for us to worry about. Of course, we were always nervous. And then on Christmas Eve, when she was 10 years old, she got a headache. And I just knew. I remember going to bed that night and thinking that something terrible was coming. Like, I just had that feeling. And in fact, it started snowing on Christmas Eve. And she was so excited because she'd always wanted it to snow on Christmas, and she didn't remember a Christmas where it had snowed. And even though she had this headache, she wanted to go outside and catch snowflakes on her tongue. So we did that. And she says to me, this feels really magical. I've always wanted it to snow on Christmas. And I remember looking down at her, and I'm smiling at her, but on the inside, I was, I just knew it was going to be her last Christmas. A few days later, we found out that she had the most aggressive type of brain cancer. This time it was it's unheard of for that to be a secondary tumor to the one that she had to begin with. So it was really baffling to all the specialists across the country. They have obviously no idea why she got that from, they assume it was from radiation, but this type of cancer doesn't come from radiation. So it was confusing, but it didn't matter. A few weeks later, she passed away, and there was just nothing that we could do to stop it. And when she passed, my husband and I were in a place where we didn't even know if we believed in an afterlife. We wanted to believe, but we had no proof that it existed. Then all of a sudden, our 10-year-old daughter either was existing or was not existing any longer. And we needed to know for sure. And we reached out to a woman that I had been introduced to before. She was a medium, evidential medium, that an aunt of a friend of mine. So I trusted her, and I reached out to her and I said, can you connect with Kenadie? Can you bring proof through? We want to know one way or another so that I guess we could try to accept either she's there or she's not. And she made us wait a few months. She wanted Kenadie, she was afraid she wouldn't be like acclimated on the other side and be able to bring clear messages through. So she made us wait for a few months. And then she brought through evidence that we could not deny. It was just a moment in time that I will never forget, because I looked at my husband and I'm like, she's still out there. She's right here with us. She knew something that had happened, that the woman, there's just no way that anybody would know that that happened. And that was the moment that I knew she still existed and I was going to figure out a way to find her. And so that put me on a spiritual path and this was in 2018 is when she passed away. So I've been on this path now for quite a few years. And all of a sudden, well, it was 2020, I started having this thing kind of growing inside me. I was hearing nudges from the spirit team across the veil. I was meditating, I was receiving messages, and I told my husband, we're supposed to tell our story. We're supposed to share things that we're learning along the way. I said, I don't know what that looks like. We live in this teeny little town. How would we do that? And he surprised me with his response. He said, I feel that too. And he is shy, introverted. He is a quiet man. So for him to say that, and, I was thinking he was going to tell me I was nuts, but he was like, no, I'm feeling it too. And then a few days later, he said it's going to be called 411. He got a download.
Oh my
And we didn't
goodness.
know, we had no idea what it was. And then we launched it. It took a few years for us to get there, but we kept following the nudges. We already had one daughter when Kenadie passed away. Mila was 5. And then we weren't able to have another child for a few years. We ended up having Salem, our little boy, in 2022. And then in 23, we launched 411, still not knowing what it was. And there were 200 followers on Instagram from our community. They were just supporting us and loving us. And it was like crickets. I didn't know how we were going to do anything. We didn't know what it was going to be. And then Kenadie, in a meditation, told me to share our story, showed me which one specifically to share. And it was a story of connection. So it's one of those moments where I knew for sure that she was there with me. And there was just proof in my heart. And I was comfortable putting it out into the world, even if other people didn't believe me. It was okay. I had gotten to the point where I was totally okay with putting out the spiritual stuff that I'd kind of kept in the closet. I was okay with putting out our story, even if people didn't believe me. I was just totally accepting all of it. And I promised her if she stood by me, I would do whatever she told me to do. And she told me to share the story. And I put it out there and we gained 20,000 followers from one story.
Oh my God.
And
Well, it is
then
so in depth and beautiful. It really
that
is.
it was just, for me, it wasn't about the numbers. It was about,
Yeah.
that was her showing me, like, I promised you I would be there. I promise, because she showed me that she would get, because I said, honey, I don't know how anybody's going to find us. Like, nowadays it's just hard. There's so many people on social media. I said, I just don't know. And she promised me that she would guide people to the page. And she has since told me that she is a shepherd on the other side. And she's guiding people to the page, and she's with other people, with the loved ones that are across the veil, and that they go and she showed this little girl come up to her and was holding her hand. And the little girl said, let's go get my mom and let's take her to your mom's page and let's show her this
Oh,
story because it's going to help her. And so I got to see all this. And then the little girl's mom reached out to me and said that she was guided to this story that helped her understand that her daughter was still with her across the veil. And it was just this beautiful thing. And I said to Kenadie, I said, you're like a messenger on the other side sharing the message of 411. And she said, no, I'm the shepherd. I said, oh, so that's when she told me that she was the shepherd, and I could see her guiding people to the page and to the kind of movement of 411, and just not only helping people realize that their loved ones are across the veil and that our loved ones that pass still exist, because that's huge. And a lot of us don't know what we really believe. And so, these stories you just feel it in your soul when you hear them and you get goosebumps all over your body. It's really hard to deny them. And so if you want to accept that our loved ones are there, these stories help you get there. But the other side of 411 is helping people live a more connected way. Because once I realized that my daughter, before I learned how to connect with Kenadie across the veil, I learned how to connect with guides and angels and other people's loved ones across the veil. And my unborn son, I met him multiple times before he came to us. Once I realized that I had this team on the other side and I started living connected to them, then everything changed. Then my whole world opened up to just more joy and peace and magic. And all the stuff that I thought died when Kenadie died.
It
And
seems
not,
like sorry about that. It
no,
seems
go
like
ahead.
she really brought you to your true purpose in your
She
life.
she did. I mean, she definitely, and she has shown me that what she is doing now was part of, I feel like what I'm doing is part of my path, but she's showing me what she's doing right now is part of her path. So selfishly, I wanted her to stay. I still wish that she was here with me. And I would take her back in a heartbeat, but she's showing me, no, this is part of my path. She couldn't do what she's doing right now if she was still here on earth. So, that's hard for my human mommy self to accept fully, but I understand it, and it has gotten to a point where that has helped me. In the early days, that knowledge maybe wouldn't have helped so much, but now it is helping me.
Yeah, I think there's a certain amount of time you kind of got to go through your grieving, your humanly grieving stages, right? And
Sure.
then and then also not really having the gifts and then just going wham, gifts. Like all of a sudden
Right.
it's like bam, like I can hear, see, do all these things
Yes.
and then it just catapulted you into a different part of grieving. And then you started to like actually help others. And that
That's what I love so
is
much, is that
oh,
my
I
husband
got
and I
goosebumps. Ooh.
weren't connected, that we were aware of. We lived a life with none of this in our world. And so when we were kids, I've said this, on the page quite a bit, but we weren't the people that saw our deceased great grandparents at the foot of the bed. Like, you
Right.
hear so many stories, and you hear people, talking with angels when they were younger and all of that. None of that existed. I never had magical dreams. Felt very disconnected. And so for me, when Kenadie passed, even though I knew she still existed, I thought at first that I would have to go through other people to feel that connection with her. But then she was nudging me along the way. So I felt nudged to try meditation, and then I tried that. And no, she wasn't there on day one, although she could have been. I mean, some people connect right away.
Picked it up.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so I know now that the reason she didn't show up on day one, because she could have, like, they're pretty powerful on the other side. And I would have stopped with the journey. Once I found her, I wouldn't have been open to connecting with anybody else on the other side. And that wasn't like, I needed to be connected with my spirit team, not just my daughter. And so it was by design that I met other beings first. And then here comes Kenadie. And I love that went in that order now, because I'm so close with the rest of my team, and I adore them. I love them so much, and I'm really glad that they're a part of everything that I do. And their different personalities help me with different things in life. And so, yeah, I'm thrilled that Kenadie is there, but I'm also thrilled that I feel more connected to the angels across the veil, to other loved ones across the veil, and to even, I'm not religious, but I even feel connected to Jesus now. And
Yeah.
that was one of the biggest shocks of my life. But now that he is a part of my team and he's a part of my life, it's really, really beautiful. And I would never go back. I just feel like he's standing right next to Kenadie, and those two are just my light. And I just love them to pieces. And I'm so glad that they're in my world.
Yeah, you're very lucky. Very fortunate, right?
But I'm just like, if I can do it, everybody can do it. That's what I love the most.
You are right. Well, I think we all come in with these gifts. I don't know
Yes.
where they go. I can't tell you that, but sometimes maybe it just shuts off because we're from there.
Yeah.
We are spirit, so we do
Exactly. And
have
it's
that.
just
It's just life, maybe.
awakening it, remembering it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel, because when they give me downloads, that's how I know it's a download, is because for a split second I feel the human response, and I'm shocked by this information that comes into my mind. And then it feels like I've known it forever. And it feels silly that I was shocked a moment before, because I'm like, wait, I have known this forever. And that makes total sense. And I fully understand whatever it is that the download is. And then I'm like, oh, thanks guys. Like, that's kind of the process. And I love that. I never felt that years ago. I never had experiences like that. And those are some of my favorite experiences in my life. And so this is just fun for me to get to share that with people. And my husband,
Absolutely.
he's um, a guy from a small town, a little country town, so like he's hunting and fishing and riding motorcycle dirt bikes and all this stuff, and then he's connecting with his spirit team across the veil and knows that his daughter across the veil is right beside him, and he talks to her and receives signs from her. And he is just, we're very average people that did not live connected at all before. And so I really do think that that was also part of the plan, because
Absolutely.
I wanted to see people like me that were saying that
That's
they,
right.
if I had seen someone like me, that would have helped. And it
That's why I
did. I
was so
actually,
happy for you to come on, because
oh,
you are
thank you.
normal. Yes. And that's very important for people, because it makes people understand that, look at her, I can too.
Yeah,
And, you, like you said, you're a small town and you didn't have any, you weren't religious, nothing. And it happened for
no,
you. So then we know it can happen for others. And that's the whole part of this journey for me, anyways, for me. And I'm sure that's
sure.
part of yours as well.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that because it took me seeing someone else that wasn't born. And I know that I was guided to this woman in, of course, a very magical way. And I know that Kenadie had her hand in it for sure. But this medium named Suzanne Giesman, she's a very famous practicing evidential medium. And she friend requested me. I heard her name. I decided not to look into her for some reason. And then she friend requested me on Instagram, and I recognized the name because it was just a couple days later. And I thought, why is this famous medium requesting me? I was like, her spirit team must have guided her to, this wasn't 411. This was before 411. She just found my Rachel Stewart private Instagram page. And so I had this moment where like we were going to become best friends. Like I just knew that she was supposed to be in my life. And then I realized that the name was misspelled and it was a fake account. And someone was trying to
Oh,
scam me. But so I
oh,
didn't accept the friend request. However, I felt the nudge. No, you're supposed to look into this woman. So I looked into her. I started reading a book by her, and it was just an amazing book. It was called Wolf's Message. And it's about a young man that passed away who was struck by lightning. And it's just this really powerful story. And then in the middle of the story, I realized that Suzanne Giesman wasn't born a medium. She's a retired Navy commanding officer who was totally not into this sort of stuff until her stepdaughter was also struck by lightning when she was 6 months pregnant and was killed instantly. And Suzanne was like, her soul must have gone on somewhere, and it took on the same similar journeys that mine did. So, and she learned how to do everything that she does now. And she's just a beautiful spiritual force out in the world. And so I'm reading this and I thought, wait a second. She wasn't born a medium, and you can learn how to become a medium. And my head, I was in a chair in my living room and my head tilted back and I was contemplating this. And there's a chandelier above me with a lot of little lights in it. And one of the lights started flickering. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I took courses and I really dove in, and I thought, am I supposed to be a practicing medium? Is that my path? I was really excited because I was connecting with people's deceased loved ones from across the veil, strangers that were able to validate that things that were coming to me were real. And I was shocked. And then I realize now, looking back, that no, I'm not supposed to be an evidential medium. That didn't feel like it was my path, but it allowed me to stop questioning that I was connecting with Kenadie. And then I believed it. So before that, it was like, oh, I must be making this up. I just was dismissing all of the proof that she was sending me. It was never quite enough.
what was the first proof that you got from Kenadie?
You mean early on when I didn't realize it was her, really?
Yeah.
Or after the mediumship class?
How about both?
Okay, so early on, my husband noticed at first after she passed, she used fours because her favorite number here on earth was four. So she would send us fours in pretty magical ways. And it just was too much to deny. So we were like, oh, that's interesting. And then then the numbers switched to 11s, and we always thought of those as her angel numbers. And we also felt like she would show up, she would use 11s to show us that we were on the right path. So then when my husband said it's going to be called 411, it made total sense because we started living in a way that was for the 11s. Like, we'll keep doing this. She'll send us more 11s. Like, we know we're on the right path.
Ooh, I
And
like that.
also, even though it's FOR 11, it was kind of a nod to her early numbers that was 4.
Hmm.
Anyways, after 411 came to our mind, then we saw the number 411 everywhere. And that was her way of nudging us to continue forward with 411. So that was kind of the early on things that she did. The one that where we knew for sure through the medium was a special thing that she did with a hummingbird. So
Oh.
that was a beautiful experience. So we realized that she also did something amazing with a butterfly. So that's when we were starting to learn and understand kind of how her energy could, not that she was the hummingbird or she was the butterfly, but that her energy could now merge with their energy and she could manipulate them into doing something neat. And we were just starting to kind of understand that in the early days. After the mediumship training, so I'm doing readings for strangers that were in the class. They were going really, really well. And my husband said, "Will you do a reading for me?" It's like, okay, I was so nervous. I was, okay, because I'm thinking that I'm connecting with Kenadie, but what if no proof comes through? Because she was going to have to bring through pretty good proof for me to believe it, because I know everything about her and so does Shane. So I couldn't figure out what she could tell me that I wouldn't already know and that Shane wouldn't already know. So before the reading, I asked her to please bring something through that would let my heart know that it was real and to let Shane's heart know that it was real. So the reading starts out and she's giving me beautiful messages for her dad. We're both bawling. It was just really special messages. However, there was no proof yet. But we felt it. We felt that it was her. But then in my mind, I said to her, okay, now you need to bring through proof. And she said, Dad had a dream of me last night. And I said, no, your dad doesn't have dreams. Like, cause I had dreams with her and he didn't. And it was a really hard thing for him to not have dreams with her. And so I didn't like telling him that I had dreams. He wanted me to tell him, but I felt like it made him sad. So it was hard for me to share my dreams with him about Kenadie. And she said it again. I said, in my mind, I said, I am not going to say that to your dad. That is going to bring him pain because he doesn't dream of you, honey, you know? And so I knew I was making this up in my head. I was like, gosh, this isn't, I was really disappointed. And I heard in my mind, he dreamt of me last night. It was like she was so adamant. And I thought, okay, because I told her before the reading that I would say whatever came to my mind. And so I thought, okay, I promised her. So I looked at him and I said, she says you dreamt of her last night. And his eyes get big and he smiled. His eyes were big, like almost shocked. And then he just got this like sweet little grin on his face. And he was like, I did. It was beautiful, or it was cool, or he said something, but just that confirmation that he did have a dream with her was like, that was it. I'm like, it's really her. Like, I'm connecting with her. And after that, it's just, I didn't question it anymore. And she is just, I'm so connected with her that she's just there. She's always there. I don't have to go into meditation, or I can just like put my hand out and feel her energy in my hand while I'm driving down the road. She's in the passenger seat right next to me. And I just, I love being able to tune into her energy and her frequency pretty much at all times now. And that's the way I want it.
Do you hear her speak in her voice
It's
to you in your head,
no,
or?
no. Sometimes I hear her giggle and it's like, it's her giggle just because I don't giggle like that. But, no, it's in my voice, but it's my voice sounding childlike and giddy and excited. She usually comes through very excited, because she was 10. So I think she
Mm-hmm.
lets me feel that energy, even though, you know, on the other side, she came to me once in a dream and she looked like she was maybe 20 years old. So I know that was just one
Wow.
time, and that was to help me in the early days because it was hard for me to think of my young daughter. by herself, with crossing over without me. So she showed herself as much older so that I could have a little bit of peace around that. But but now she lets me feel that young energy and I love it. So that's how it comes through. It's always like, because even though she was 10, she still said mommy to, like, usually to me, she would say mom sometimes, but usually it was like, mommy, but she was just like she'd come home and mommy, she was just like really excited. And I don't know, she just lived life to the fullest. That's how she lived life. So that's how she comes through. It's like that energy. It's almost like she's like clapping, like, yay, I'm here. She's just, that's how I get to feel her come through. But yeah, it's more my voice. It's just like my thought, is how it comes through. So when I started meditating, it was interesting because it was such a rat race. It was just really lots of monkey mind going on, which can stop people from meditating because they think that they have to silence their thoughts. But what I started doing was just paying attention to my thoughts and not like fretting about it. I just wasn't worried that I was having thoughts. And I think that helped me get comfortable with my own thoughts. So now when other people drop in, like angels or my daughter or other people's loved ones across the veil, when they drop in those thoughts, I'm like, oh, that's not mine, because I'm so familiar with what my own thoughts sound like. So I think of meditation as a practice of listening instead of a practice of silencing. And that helped me with my connection journey.
I agree with that. I have, when I get a download, sometimes it comes through, I think it's my own voice. But sometimes actually, like the other day, I got one that was almost like um, a vibration. Like
Okay.
it was almost like a vibration. It's very interesting when I heard it,
Very
but I could
cool.
hear words, but it was like a vibration talking. If you could even think of what that would sound like. But
Interesting.
that's
But
how
you
it
knew
came
what
in.
it was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know when it comes in, and it comes in more on my right side always.
Mine too.
And then if I hear someone, it kind of sounds like it's like a little bit back here, like
Okay.
it's back a bit. So I would say like back
Oh,
in my
interesting.
head, but it
Okay.
comes back here. Like it's not like it's internal too.
Okay.
So it's an
Sure.
internal hearing. I've heard it's many different ways. I've had whispering in my ear before. Having said that, that is definitely something that your mind would know. Like you would definitely know the difference. It's hard to explain to people
Sure.
what that is. You do know
But
though.
that was in the early days for me. That's why it was easy to dismiss as my
Hmm.
own thoughts, because I just wasn't as familiar with them, or I didn't believe that I could.
Mm.
I don't, I was doing the meditation, but did I really believe that I could learn how to connect? Probably not. Looking back, I probably had a lot of doubt around it. So every time a message would come through, it was like, oh, that's probably not really her, or not really my spirit guide, or whatever. So they I'm a little bit on the stubborn side. And I was a skeptic for sure. So my team, they know that about me. So they had to come through with a lot of proof over the
Hmm.
years to like really solidify it in my mind that this was all real and that I wasn't making it up. And
And
so
you
it took
can
a
still
long
connect
time
with
for
her
me to
now?
get there. With my daughter?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
so awesome. Wow.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I, I don't even I don't even feel the need to on a daily basis. I mean, I still meditate on a regular basis, but if I don't meditate for the day, I'm still connected with her. She's what I've realized is that when our loved ones cross over, I believe as long as we're okay with it, that their energy merges with our energy. And that's why sometimes when people cross over, we feel them more. And so I get people reaching out to us all the time saying, where did they go? I felt them right when they passed away. I could feel their presence. And now they feel a million miles away. They must have moved on. They must not be here anymore. I'm like, oh no, that's not how it works. I'm like, that's not what I believe. We aren't holding them back when we've lived this connected way, because they are so beyond being able to be held back. They are limitless. They are everywhere and anywhere that they want to be, and which includes merging with our energy and being a part of like every ounce of our being. So she is just a part of me at all times, and I get to feel that, and I get to live that connected to her, and it's pretty magical. So I know that she's experiencing life through me, through my experience, through my eyes, and through her sister and her little brother and her dad, and she's just a part of all of us. And so I understand that now. But what happens is that we get so used to what it feels like for them to be a part of us. It's just like if, you don't think about your hair unless it's blowing in your face or something. It's just a part of you.
That's
So
right.
that's what happens. That's why I think that in the early days you feel them more. I think that's one of the reasons, is that because that's new. They haven't always merged with you in the same way. But then once you get used to it, it becomes the norm. And so there's exercises that I learned early on where I could be sitting here meditating, and I would say, okay, if that's true, let me feel what it feels like for your energy to leave my aura or to leave my
Mm-hmm.
energy. So I would ask her to step away, and I would feel a difference. I would feel a shift, and it was almost like, and then when she would come back, it was lighter. I could feel her energy, and it was subtle but powerful at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. And so
So she
that's when I
can move through
realized,
you.
yeah, and I think that
That's so
we
incredible.
can all try exercises like that to see if we can feel it. My husband has a harder time with it than I do. He was like, maybe I feel something, but
Aw.
like I said, it's subtle, but I think we can all feel it on some level.
Have you ever asked her what it was like where she is?
She's shown me, well, I've gotten to see things, like I feel like she took me and flew me around, and what was cool is the way she let me see it was it was we were flying over Earth, and, over mountains and over the treetops, and but it was seeing the world in a way that I will never see it with my human eyes. So it was like everything was glowing. Everything was just beyond beautiful. It kind of reminded me, there were scenes that reminded me of the movie Avatar. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but
Mm-hmm.
where everything was glowing, the trees were glowing. It was like I could see the energy of everything around it. And it was just breathtaking. It was really, really beautiful. I've never seen, and that was just one time. And I thought, because I had asked her for a long time, like, is there a way that you could let me see how you see now? And I just wanted to feel that, like in a dream or something. And then that actually happened during a meditation, but I was kind of in and out of sleep, so I don't know if I was asleep or awake when it happened. But so I feel like she let me see like a little glimpse of it. I know that when I cross over, it's going to be so much different than anything that I could even imagine with my human little brain. It's like, it's, yeah, it's going to be expanded beyond anything I could, even comprehend or imagine. But she let me see a little glimpse of the beauty that she sees. And it's just, it was really neat. But I mean, I think she can go beyond our universe. I mean, I don't think that I can comprehend what she's witnessing now, but what she does see is even more beautiful, because I think the world is beautiful. I think there's a lot of beauty around us, and I try to not take it for granted, um, but I know that she sees it all in a much different way
Absolutely.
now.
Absolutely. So how did your children react, and have they had their own special feelings from Kennedy
Mila
or
is
visits?
Salem's too little now to be able he's only 2. So we haven't
Oh,
been able to talk to him about how he feels about all of this stuff. And obviously he was born after she passed, but I know he was with her across a veil before he came here. I From the very beginning, we had readings, for all these years, different mediums that I was introduced to, that I would have a reading with, and they would all say they'd be connecting with Kenadie and they'd be giving proof and messages. And then they would go, who's the little boy that's showing up now with her? She's holding his hand. She says it's her little brother. Did you have another child that passed away or did you miscarry? And I would say, no, he hasn't come yet, but I think he's going to be a part of our family. And what was interesting is right before she passed away, she said to me, I want you guys to have another baby. I want to have a little brother.
Aw.
And it was just out of the blue. And I thought and we talked about it till the day she passed. She was obsessed. So we would talk about names. We would talk about what it would be like to have a little baby in the house again. And she loved hearing us talk about that and would ask us to tell her stories about her little brother before she passed. And then I found out in a beautiful way that I was expecting because it was years and I couldn't get pregnant and had gone to specialists and they said that it would be impossible to get pregnant without medical intervention. But I was seeing this little boy in meditations and then I was laying in my bed and I felt him in my stomach like I was 9 months pregnant and he was kicking me to respond to me. So I would say, are you my little boy? And he would kick. And then I would, it was are you the little boy that I see in meditations? And he'd kick. And Shane, that was a dream that he had with Kenadie. She was there leaning up against our couch. She was sitting on the floor leaning up against the couch and a little boy was crawling all over her, a little toddler. And she looked at him and she smiled and he said that the feeling that he got is, I love him. He's annoying. Because he was climbing all over her. But like, I love him so much, sort of like a very much big sister, little brother vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyways, so I felt him. The next morning I told my husband, I said, I still think this little guy is going to find his way to us somehow. And it was that month that 2 specialists said, no, you can't have a baby without help. And I was, the next month I was getting ready to hop in the shower. I was home alone and I heard a message from Kenadie and she told me to take a test. And I did, and I was pregnant. And then she told me not to tell Daddy until the next day because the next day was her birthday. So she
Oh my
wanted it to be a
gosh.
gift for him on her birthday. And so I told him the next day, but so now I'm expecting this and I know it's going to be a little boy. I know it's this boy and I know that they've spent all this time together, but my human self, this one day I was crying. I was really sad because she wasn't going to be there to hold him after he was born. And Mila, our other daughter, would be, and that was going to be beautiful, but Kenadie wasn't going to be, and that was going to be sad. And so I was telling my husband and crying to him about it. And then I said that I just felt nudged to go to Hobby Lobby, the store that we have in our area that I've never been to before, ever. And he was like, what are you looking for? I said, I don't know. So we go in there and I'm walking around and aisle after aisle. And Shane's like, what are we doing here? I said, I'm not sure. I just felt the nudge. And then I turn a corner and there's this picture of this angel with light brown hair with wings and she's holding a baby.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
said, oh, she's letting me know that she's already held them. I was like, oh, okay. So of course I bought the picture. And
Of
I was like,
course.
it was a beautiful reminder, which I already knew that, but it was hard for, I want to see her here on earth holding her little brother. And so that was a reminder for her that she'd held him for years. So I thought that was really
Yeah,
beautiful.
wow.
So he's not old enough to talk to us about and to share stories like that quite yet, but he's, we've had some funny things happen. Like he was sitting on my lap on Halloween and Kenadie was obsessed with all holidays. She loved Halloween. And he's sitting on my lap. We're just at home. The TV's on. It's in evening time. And all of a sudden I realize that he's doing something. I was watching the TV, so I wasn't paying attention to what he was doing. And I look at him and he's just laughing hysterically, but he's looking to one side and then he'd hide and start giggling. And then he'd look and he's looking behind me and he's playing peekaboo with someone. You can just
Oh my
tell, like
goodness.
when a child's
Yes,
playing peekaboo with someone,
absolutely.
there's like nothing else that they could be doing. And I said, Shane, look, and it went on and on. And we were both just sitting there enjoying it. And there was someone behind me. And I know for sure that
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 was
was his
her.
sister. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. So I know that he's been connected with her. Will he be able to keep that connection alive as he grows up? I'm not sure. And then Mila, she was 5 when her sister passed away, and she has had things come through from her sister, but she didn't know they were her sister. So she's very connected with her, but doesn't feel the difference between her own thoughts and her sister's
Mm-hmm.
thoughts. But we've had proof, there's been proof that, wow, that wasn't you, that actually came from your sister. And she's like, it did? I mean, so she doesn't feel that. And I don't know if she'll open herself up to it down the road, or if she'll be like, my mom is off her rocker. I've told her that I'm going to share all this stuff with her. And then as she grows up, it's up to her what she chooses to believe in and focus
Mm-hmm.
on. And
Absolutely.
I'm curious to see what she'll do with it, if anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's really cool what you're doing because it's like almost like a digital um, keepsake that's going
Yes.
to be kept in your family forever.
Yeah, I love that
It will
social
go
media
on
has
and
been able
on
to
and
do
on
that
and
for
on.
me. Yeah, because some
Yes.
of these stories I had weren't even written down. They were in my mind, and I'm like, oh, I just need to get them out. So then I share them, and then they're there always. So I love that I can go back and listen to them and be reminded of the small details that might get fuzzy as time goes on.
It sounds like your community played a huge role in your grief.
Well,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, that's what it sounds like, and that's wonderful. I'm wondering if you have any stories that you can tell
Oh,
us that
from the
you,
community?
yeah, without, naming names. We don't need names, but could you share a
Oh,
few?
yeah. Oh, I've got so many good ones. And of course the people, they reach out and they do let us share their pictures and their names, and they
Wow,
just
okay, cool.
I think that it's a way to honor their loved one across the veil, as well as help other people to realize that their loved ones are still there. And it's pretty beautiful. I mean, we have people reaching out to share stories every single day. We can't get through them. There's so many of them, and they're just amazing. But just today, a woman actually, okay, so I'll give you, this hasn't even been posted yet, so this is hot off the press.
Okay.
Um, so a woman just reached out this morning to tell me this story about her, and I won't use names because I haven't
Yep,
verified with
of
her
course.
about the names, but she found our page right after her dad passed away. She said our page popped up, and I like to think that he guided her to it, if it was going to help her in any way. And so she said that her mom was having a harder time accepting the signs that her husband was sending her. And so she was sharing stories from our page to help her mom to see the signs, which I just love. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I read these stories and I start crying because I'm just
Yeah,
like, that's the point,
that's the whole point. Mhm.
yeah. And so I love that. So, anyways, so she's sharing stories with her mom. And one day, she has her phone on the counter, black screen. She's not on it. I believe she was cooking something. Her kids are upstairs. Her partner is out of the house, I think she said. And she starts hearing this music playing, and it was like a country song. But she said it sounded like it was coming from a speaker on a phone. And she was like, where is that coming from? Who entered the room? So she's looking around and nobody else is there, but she knows that it's not her phone because her phone, she's not on her phone. But she goes over to her phone and her phone screen is lit up, and it's on Instagram on our page. And it's a specific story about a woman who had a connection with her father across the veil. And the song that's playing is Dads Don't Die. And so that whole story, I was like, oh, I love it when 411 gets to be a little piece of the
Oh
puzzle
my
because it's
gosh,
just,
yes.
I'm like, that lights me up.
You
So she
know,
shared that with me.
mhm,
Oh, go ahead.
that's incredible because I had that from my dad. I'm not kidding.
Really?
When you just brought that up, I'm like, no way. And then I thought, did I write that? I literally thought that for a second
Really?
because I'm not kidding. So on Father's Day, I obviously is not going to be talking to him. So I had said a prayer in my head that night. I hope tomorrow you're out fishing and doing everything that you love to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I went to bed and I woke up and I heard loud music in my ear. And I'm like, oh my God, I fell asleep with my headphone in again. Right. And
Right?
then I went to grab my headphone, but there was no headphone. And it was a song playing in my head that was a country song because my father liked country music. And the song is called Carrying Your Love With Me.
Song. Uh-huh.
Yes. And I was just like, wow, but it just kept playing the chorus over and over and over again. So I was like, you heard me. So I'm like, happy
It's
Father's
awesome.
Day. Yeah. I swear to God.
Oh,
Yeah. It was really
oh, that's
interesting.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Yeah.
cool. I love that. Well,
I
yeah.
believed
So
all
this
these things, but that sounded like my story for a second.
send in your story. No, but yeah. So this woman, so she tells me the story. So then she says that they went on a road trip, and she and her partner, let's see, her, who else was there? Some of her other kids, I believe, are in the van. But her daughter, who's I believe a teenager, is riding with them on her motorcycle. And she was like, I know that sounds crazy. She was like, but so she's going with us on this big long road trip on her motorcycle. At one point, the daughter gets ahead of them because the van gets a flat tire, and the daughter is on a treacherous road now by herself on her motorcycle, and her mom is like scared. So she reached out to her dad across the veil and she said, Dad, please be with her, protect her while she's on this road. And they changed the tire, and I already have goosebumps. They changed the tire. They get to their destination, and the daughter's there, safe and sound. And she tells her mom the weirdest thing happened as she was driving down the road. Another motorcyclist showed up out of nowhere, a man. He gave her a little nod and he rode beside her on the road, helped her get past vehicles, trucks that were in the road. She rode along with him. And then at the end, he just nodded at her one more time and drove off into the sunset. And he was gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Uh-huh. So I love these stories. So I just read that 2 minutes before I came on with you, and I'm reading it, and you just know, like my whole body was just covered in goosebumps as I'm reading it. And I'm not, her dad found a way to protect his granddaughter, and I have no doubt. Like
No,
that
I have
was
no doubt
beautiful.
whatsoever. I'm
And
100%
this is
on
my
board.
favorite part. Well, maybe not. This is one of my favorite parts. She says, my mom, who the one that wasn't sure if she was believing in all the signs
Hmm.
that she's been sharing the 411 stories with, her mom, after she told her that story, she was like, oh, you've got to share it on 411. So
Oh,
her
that's
mom,
so cute.
yeah, her mom's on board now. I
Oh,
think that's pretty neat.
see, you're changing lives.
Oh, I love being a part of it in whatever way I'm allowed to be a part of it. I am here for all of it, and I am honored to I just I'm like speechless. When I'm talking about this stuff, I love it so much. The messages, I'm thinking about messages that people have sent us and the connection that they're now feeling with their loved ones. And some of these people lost their mom 25 years ago, their husband 8 years ago, and have never felt connected with them for all of those years. And that
Why
is
do you
just
think
so
that is?
sad because we're not taught that this is real. I mean, it's I think that that's why I meant, and my husband, why we're meant to put this out there, because we do, I hope, come across as normal and that will help people go, okay, it is okay to feel, to reach out to my loved one across the veil. There's nothing scary about it, or there's nothing silly about it. It can be a real thing. And so, a woman whose husband had passed away years earlier, she was like following our page and she thought, gosh, that would be so cool. He adored her and she just misses him with every ounce of herself. I mean, for 8 years, she thought was just gone. And that breaks my heart for one. But then she's following the page, she's hearing these stories and she thought, okay, I'm going to try. And she asked him for a sign. And then she felt nudged to watch a show on YouTube that popped up about Billy Bob Thornton. She's like, why in the world am I watching a show about Billy Bob Thornton? Like, it's not an actor that she follows. So she's watching it, and this picture flashes, and it says it's a building that says Econo Wash, like a clothing, like a laundromat. It says Econo Wash, and she goes, "That's the sign," because that was the name of his. It was a different building, but that was the name of his parents' laundromat that they had for 60 years in their family. It's where she met her husband when they were teenagers, when her mom took her dry cleaning to his parents' laundromat. It's called Econo Wash. So she sees that and she thinks, he's really here. He's really here with me. He sent me that sign. So she accepted the sign. These are all steps. You know, you've got to follow you've got to ask, then you follow the nudges, then you accept it. And then a few hours later, on her phone, one of those photo memories pops up on her phone. And the picture is her husband and her standing next to each other underneath the Econo Wash
Oh my
sign. They're in the
goodness.
doorway of his family's Econo Wash.
That is just really like, if that's not
Yeah,
like, hello.
right. And she sent it to me and she said, "Isn't that weird?" I was like, "Honey,"
That's
no, it's
clear.
not weird.
That's a clear sign.
That is clear. I'm not letting you coincidence that away. I was like,
Yeah.
that is him. And so she was like, she responded, she goes, "I think you opened up a portal between my husband and I." Like, it was so sweet. And that's what I love though, is that it's not me. I had nothing to do with that. I didn't open up a portal. I just helped you to allow the connection to happen. I helped you let go of fear and doubt and bring in some belief. And that's all that it takes. It's like step one is you have to believe that you can connect with your loved one across the veil.
And
And
you just changed her world completely.
so it was so cool. It's like those types of stories are my favorite.
That sounds so rewarding.
Yeah,
So rewarding.
it is. And then cause I get to feel, cause I do feel connected across the veil.
That's right.
And so I get to feel the excitement from the person that sends me the message. And then I get to feel their loved one's excitement
Hmm.
across the veil. Like,
Aw.
finally, like she's here. Thanks for being a part of it. I mean, they're patient. It's probably not finally because they're okay with the plan. They're okay with however it comes about. But I do get to feel their excitement. Like she knows that I'm here. I finally get to connect with her. I finally get to show her in different ways. And it's not,
Yeah.
I don't think that is an unhealthy thing at all. Like, for instance, I don't think that it would hold her back from, you know, continuing to move forward in her life. Our loved ones across the veil are our biggest cheerleaders. They want us to live our life to the fullest and to be happy and to go on the vacation and to find more, true love again, if that's in our path. They want this for us. And so, if they can help guide us to more joy and peace and love in our life, like, hallelujah, let them in.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Rachel, has your understanding since your experience and your loss or experience of loss changed the way you feel about life and death now?
Well, I'm definitely not afraid to die any longer. Before I was terrified because I didn't know if that was it. So, now that I've got a daughter on the other side, I'm not afraid of it. I don't feel like I'm done. I want to have a human experience here with my kids and watch them grow up and be a part of their life here on earth. But when it comes my time, hopefully a bit down the road, I will not be afraid at all to cross over. And because I already, I've got one foot across the veil already. I'm like, that's where my daughter's at. I'm hanging out with her all the time. So I know when I cross over, it will feel like I'm going back home. But so that has changed that for sure. But as far as my human side, I'm still really sad that Kenadie passed away. I'm still I'm still sad that she was supposed to graduate in June and I didn't get to watch her do that. Even though she came to me in a meditation in her cap and gown, like, "Here, mom, you can see me." Like, and she told me I didn't need to graduate. She said, "I graduated Earth School a long time ago." So she was like, "I didn't need to stay long enough to graduate from high school." Yeah. Yeah. She said that she just came back long enough to help us. that the time that she came to Earth this time wasn't to help her to evolve. It was to help us to evolve, and that what she's doing on the other side is part of her evolution. That was the important part of her journey this time. And that's helpful, but the human side still is sad that she crossed. So even with all of this knowledge and new learnings that I have and all of that, it didn't completely take away the pain of losing her for sure. And but it has brought in the tools so that I'm not drowning in it. So that's I had a dream this one time in the early days of my grief in the first couple of years, and I was just surrounded by darkness. And I was in the middle of a city, and it was dark with one street light on, and everything around me was really scary. There was, you know, drug activities going on and gang activity. There was all this stuff going on around me, but I didn't want to leave the light. I was like clinging to this one little street light because everything else was pitch black. And all of a sudden, this really scary looking old lady that looked like a witch was standing next to me. And I was like, oh God, like now I'm really scared. And she pointed into the darkness and she said, you've got to go that way. And I said, I can't go that way. I'm too scared. She said, go that way. And she was pretty intimidating. So, which is why she showed up like that. And I said, okay. So I start going through the darkness, but I'm by myself and I'm too afraid. And I keep looking back and I'm going to turn around and I'm going to go back to that street light because I'm terrified. And all of a sudden there's the witch standing beside me. And she wasn't a witch, but that's what she looked like. But she's standing beside me. And she said, no, turn back. You've got to go through the darkness. You've got to go through there. And I said, it's pitch black. I can't see anything. I'm terrified. And she turned on this little flashlight. And I could just see, like, just enough to take a step without like, I'm not going to fall off of a cliff here. I'm okay, you know? And she stayed with me. She said she'd stay with me. And she was shining this light. And then pretty soon she handed me the flashlight. Now I'm shining this light and I'm following this light. And then I went from pitch black to the most brilliant light that you could ever imagine, like the brightest sunlight, but I could see, I didn't need sunglasses, and it was all around me and all within me, and it was the warmest, most loving energy I've ever felt in my life. And I turned around and the witch was gone and it was just me, and I was just surrounded by it. And I woke up in that moment, and even though I was in the middle of my darkest time, I knew the symbolism. I totally understood it, that Kenadie, the rest of my spirit team, they were going to shine a light for me. And all I had to do was follow it, even if it was just the slimmest amount of light. If I followed it, they would guide me home. And
Sounds like you came through your dark part.
yeah,
And
I
it's almost like
think
you
so.
came through the darkness and it led you right now. You were able to kind of open. Did at that point, was that not the end of your grief, but was that a new start for you? Like, did you feel any bit better after that dream?
After the dream, in meditation, shortly after that, I met my guide for the first time. I met Jesus for the first time that I was aware of. Shortly after that, I was introduced to an energy healer that I felt the top of my head almost just it turned into a funnel, like a tornado of swirling energy at the top of my head. And I didn't know what I was feeling. I'd never felt anything like that before. And the practitioner sent me a message afterwards and said, and she didn't know what I'd felt. And she said, at the beginning of the session, I saw Archangel Michael opening up your crown chakra, and you'll now be able to connect so much easier. And I was like, okay, so all these things were steps. And so, then I learned how to do that energy healing, so that I was like, I want to help other people feel that connected. So I learned how to do that, and I started connecting with angels, and that dream kind of led me to all of that. So now I, excuse me, now I realize that along the path, there were different things that helped me move forward through the darkness, but I had to feel every ounce of the darkness. And that's what those first couple of years were. We didn't numb the pain with anything. We didn't run away from the pain. We hit it head on because that's what we felt was right for us. And that was the journey. I had to get through it to find the light, but they were going to help me. I was never alone, even though I felt alone on the journey. I mean, my husband was there, but we were both struggling. We were both going through a really tremendous, horrific time. And so we were leaning on each other, but he'd be really down and I would barely be hanging on for our daughter Mila. And then we would switch and I'd be really down and he'd be barely hanging on for our daughter Mila. And so we were never like, if I was falling off the cliff, he was doing okay, and then vice versa. So we were never like here together. We were never okay at the same time. And so that was tough because you still feel alone, even though you're right next to them. And, I love him and I'm so grateful that I had him during that time, but I still felt alone a lot of the time. And so realizing that I had my team beside me and they were shining a light and helping me through the darkness, that was a life-changing experience for sure. And now it's easier looking back and realizing all the nudges and how they were there and how they showed up in my life. When I was surrounded by darkness, it was hard to see their light. But now those tools, I've practiced them so much that it's easier for me to find the light. I slip into the darkness still, but the light finds me, or I find the light quicker every time.
Have you dealt with any skeptics along your journey?
Um, Not personally. I mean, I'm sure there's people, but everybody, like our family and friends, are kind enough that if they don't believe in it, they haven't said anything to me. Strangers on social media have said a few things, but overall, not very much, actually. So I feel pretty protected in that sense. But my big fear early on, I remember telling Shane, what if we do this and we put ourselves out there and we're sharing these stories, but what if people think that we're doing it, like using our daughter's death
Mm-hmm.
for some sort of a gain or some, in any way? I
Yeah.
mean, that I'd be shattered. Like at the time, I was like, I was afraid that was going to hold me back from speaking our story, from telling our story and speaking our truth. And I, so I had a lot of fears. And what if people think I'm lying? What if people, all these things? But that same summer, that 2020 summer, was a powerful one for me. And that summer, I had a dream every night throughout the summer for months where someone would show up in the dream and they were mad at me for something that I said or something that I did. It made no sense ever. They were just mad. So it had nothing to do with me and it was all them. But it was like I got to protect my energy in the dream over and over and over again, because otherwise I'd wake up and I'd feel off, right? But it kept happening and I was so confused with why that was happening. And then at the end of the summer, a real event happened where a person in real life just lost it on me. Just when I was driving down the road, nothing happened. He rolled down his window. He's yelling all the words at me, flipping me off. And it wasn't, I did nothing. And it happened in a moment where 10 seconds before, I was by myself in my car listening to a fun song on the radio. It was summertime. It was beautiful. And I'm singing to the music. And I had the thought in my mind, wait, am I happy? I haven't felt joy in 2 years, 2.5 years, like by myself, where it wasn't caused by my husband or my daughter or somebody, um, and I thought, am I by myself in my car singing along to a song and actually having fun? And it felt so good to me. And I remember cranking up the music. Right after that is when that man started yelling at me and flipping me off and all of the things. And I turned down the music, I was like, my windows were down, like, what? What? Are you talking to me? I mean, it was like one of those
Yeah.
really intense, kind of crazy moments. And of course, I was so happy and then I was so mad at this guy. And then I drove off and he's still honking and yelling, whatever. And I drive through the four-way stop and I realized, wait a second, he doesn't get to steal my moment of joy. And I turned the music back on, started singing, and was fine, totally unaffected by that guy and our interaction, which was rare for me to be able to control my emotions that much. And And that night I did not have another dream, and I never did again. So the dreams, that was my team's way of preparing me for the future with 411 so that I didn't have to be afraid. Like, they're not going to drain me. They're not going to impact me at all. And so sure enough, just recently, someone said, boy, this is so sad that you're using your daughter's death to try to gain popularity on social media. And can't remember the exact wording, but that was the gist. And here, that was my biggest fear years ago, is that people would think that. And when I read it, it impacted me zero. I was like, no, that's not my truth. I'm not accepting that.
No, if that's not your
So,
truth, that's not your truth. And absolutely,
yeah,
you choose how you feel about something, right?
yep.
We have that
So,
power.
yeah. So I definitely have had a few people, comments like, yeah, right, or things like that. And they're allowed to believe whatever they want to
Yeah,
believe. I don't,
that's right.
if they're really nasty, I would block them or something if I see something that's really gross. But I don't even know if these are like real people, or I don't know how that stuff works. I'm like, are these weird robots? I don't know. I don't know
Right?
how that stuff works. And I don't know what people benefit from saying those things. I have no idea. But um, probably the most that I get on there as far as negativity is um, from extreme religious folks. There's lots of people that are
Yeah.
religious, that are very kind and very loving. My grandma being one of them. My grandma's Christian, and she just loves all my stories. She just thinks these are
Aw.
great. But other people will say, you're a Satan worshiper. You're communicating with the devil. That's not your daughter. Things like that. But that's their truth. Again, it doesn't impact me at all.
That's exactly what I've gone through as well when I told my story. So that's when, just as I started this, I did tell my story. I did go through that same thing. I am very strong-willed, and um, I have my own truth, and that's my truth. That's my belief. And nothing really can break that. So no, I didn't let them get to me either. But yeah, I get that a lot, the Satan worshiper thing all the time. It's
Yeah,
like, come on. Like, no, I'm not.
right,
I'm really trying to
right,
change people's thoughts. I'm trying to help people get to a place, where they're more comfortable with talking about death and dying, and, and learn things that how to connect with loved ones. I
right.
don't think that's bad. I think it's a really good thing.
I
And I
think
think
it's
it's
beautiful.
something,
It's just
yeah,
beautiful. And there's
we should
just
have
so
been
much
doing this a
light.
long time ago.
Yeah.
I
And I think
wish,
other cultures do.
I
I
think
think
they
our
do too.
culture is not good with the grieving. Nobody knows
Hmm.
how to treat you. Nobody knows what to say or what to do after someone passes away. Our culture just doesn't, we're just meant to fear it.
Yeah, we are, aren't we? It's so
That's how I
crazy.
feel. Yeah. And
Like if we
so,
were brought up different, when we were facing these types of challenges in our lives, we would know how to deal with them better. I'm not saying that it's not ever going away. The missing, the loving, none of that is going away.
right,
It's not happening. But if we did have an understanding like you do now, you can communicate with her. You know where she is. You know she's safe there. She's everything, and she's so much. She's gigantic now, you
right.
know.
Absolutely.
And if you knew that before, if people knew those things before, we would grieve
And really believed
differently
it.
and really
Yes,
believed
and
it,
really believed
right?
it. Because it would start the grieving process at a different place for me. I'm speaking about my personal story.
Yeah.
Where I started is my 10-year-old daughter passed away in my arms, and I didn't know if I would ever see her again. At that moment, I thought our relationship just ended forever, or that was my fear. If I had known before she passed what I know now, I'm not saying that it wouldn't have been horrific when she passed, but at least that one part that was so scary that I would never see her again, at least that part would have been dissolved. And I wouldn't have had to struggle my way through that portion of the grieving. So, when we have people, Shane and I, when we launched this, we were talking I was talking with my team actually in a meditation. I said, please show me what 411 is going to be. Give me some sort of a hint, because I'm not quite getting the picture here. And they said, you are going to create the space or the thing that you wished you could have found? And I said, okay, then I'm in. Because I didn't even know what that meant, but I knew that I needed something that I couldn't find when she passed. And so I'm like, yeah, if I can make that, whatever that is, I'm all in. And so I remember telling my husband that. And before we launched it, I remember he and I having a very real conversation that we needed to kind of check in with ourselves and make sure that we understood that we can't take people's pain away. And so we had to be okay with that. We had to be okay with the people that found us, that we can't heal them. We can't heal everyone's shattered, broken hearts. But we had to just make sure that we were at a place where that was okay. And then we could share what we've learned, and we could just trust that if that could help them in some way, that we had to just trust that we were just going to be the vessel that would bring them the knowledge, and they could do with it what they wanted. And if it helped them, it helped them. And, but it wasn't on us to heal them or to fix them or whatever. And so I really had to make sure that I was okay with that, and that like felt good, okay to me, that it wouldn't break my heart day after day after day, because we can't, people are reaching out to us and they're like, I just found your page and my son passed away 4 days ago. I, I have to be okay with being at a place where I can just sit with them and give them space to not be okay. Because there's nothing that I can say that's going to fix that. And
No.
so all I can do is I don't make promises to them, but I just let them know in whatever way feels right, that if knowing that your loved one is still existing, if that helps your heart right now, that's what I can promise you. That's what I have found to be my truth. And that's a promise that I feel is right in my heart. If it feels right to you, I will help you see that.
Yeah.
And I will, and our page can help you find that connection and strengthen that connection. And so I'm happy to be a part of that. But in the meantime, I will sit with you in the darkness, because there's not a lot that you can do in that time.
If Kenadie could speak right now to everyone listening today, what do you feel her message would be?
That kid,
I love that kid.
that kid, her kindness was just something else. She was obsessed with being kind to people. And that was her legacy. Her legacy isn't that she died of cancer, that she died young, or any of that. Her legacy was the way that she lived her life here. She was the kid that I remember there was a little girl on the bus that was making fun of Kenadie in front of all these kids, and Kenadie was just so embarrassed. And the little girl had been at our house, and she said, "Your house smells funny, or your house has a smell. It smells like cookies and peppermint or something like that." And Kenadie goes, "Is that a good smell?" And she was like, "No, it smells really funny." And all the kids were laughing. They were little, and Kenadie was just so embarrassed. And she's telling us this, and I can see little tears in her eyes. And I'm like, I'm furious, because my sweet little girl, it's like, I'm her mom. I'm furious that somebody's making fun of it. And my thought is like, well, did you tell them that her house smells like, it's like my not so rational, mature, whatever. Like, did you say this? And she was maybe 7, 8 at the time. And she goes, no, she goes, I didn't say anything like that, because she goes, I would never want her to feel how I was feeling in that moment. And I'm sitting at the table and I burst into tears, and she goes, what's happening? She was like, what's going on? And I said, it's just really something to realize that your 8-year-old is a more beautiful human than you could ever hope to be. I learned so much from her and her kindness.
She was wise, very wise.
Oh,
at 8
very
years old to
soul.
say something like that, hey?
Yeah. Oh, there was so much that from, itty bitty. She did stuff in preschool. I mean, she never had accidents, where she, after she was potty trained, she just never had another accident. She was easy peasy with being potty trained. Her little friend in preschool had an accident, and the little friend was crying, and she told her, and the mom overheard and she told me about it. But she said, it's okay. I do that all the time. And she was telling her, I just did that last night. I mean, she was telling her, she was saying all this. She was 4 years old. And I was like, she has never had an accident. So, she was just a sweet girl. And so if she could tell, her message would be to love, just to love people the best, and to see the goodness in everyone, because she was really, really, really good at that. She was, yeah, I try to, because I know she's connected with me. I know she's a part of me, but I'm still a part of me. So
That's right.
when I'm looking at somebody and I'm focusing on something that is frustrating me about them, or some aspect of them that I wish they would change, I try to invite her energy into that situation more and see it through her eyes, because she would see the beauty in every single person. And so I think that's what I think she would encourage us all to see the beauty in one another more, and not focus on our differences, and to not focus on, anything negative. She would also be like, and just give them a gift. Like, she was very giving.
Oh.
So she would be like, you're really annoyed with that person? Well, go buy them a present. Like, she would, she was just a sweetheart. So, yeah, I think she would encourage us to live our lives in a little bit more loving manner.
That sounds so beautiful. I can't
Yeah.
believe how wise she sounds.
Yeah.
At that time was 8 years old. Jeez.
The one, yes. Yeah. She was 7, 8,
Wow.
somewhere around there. So
An old soul for sure.
Oh, definitely. For sure. I think back, and she was my firstborn. So she was just, I didn't know any different. So it was just the norm. But at 2 years old, she's at the doctor's appointments all the time, having full on conversations with the doctors. And I remember one doctor, he had a stethoscope, and he was listening to her, and he said, I'm just using the frog listener. And she looked at him and she was like, can you just call that a stethoscope? Because that's what, and she's 2. And she was like, but she kind of looked at me, and then the doctor looked at me, and I said, she doesn't really love it when people do the like little kid thing. He goes, this is a first. He was like, I go, yeah, you just have to talk to her like she's gonna, because she said she was gonna be a doctor when she grew up. So I'm like, just talk to her like she's a little doctor. He was like,
Aww.
okay. And so, she was just different with that. She didn't come here to be, she was a kid. She was goofy too. It wasn't like she was walking around some perfect angel. She had her moments. She could be sassy too. So like there were moments.
I bet.
For sure. Her human side got to enjoy her humanness for sure. But her soul was very wise and just so loving and so kind. And so I try to hone into to that. And when I see Mila, her sister, and even her little brother who's only 2, how loving and kind they are, and how Mila is so wise. She's 13 years old, and the stuff that she comes home and talks about with the other kids at school and stuff. And I just like to think that I'm not taking it away from Mila. Mila is Mila. Mila has her own soul and her own experiences, and she's wise and beautiful in her own ways. But I also like to tell her that she's got a piece of her sister in her that helps her to see things through those eyes as well. And I invite her in, let her be a part of your life, because, she only wants the best for you. So I love that. So I get to see that. I get to see Kenadie's spark in all of us. And I like that.
Yeah, I would love that too. Rachel, do you have a message you would like to give to humanity?
Oh gosh, to humanity. That feels big.
It does, doesn't it?
I will, yes, I would. My message would be for the grievers, and that it's okay. You don't have to heal today or tomorrow. You don't have to feel like there's something wrong with you. If you've listened to this and you're like, wow, I don't feel that at all. I'm just, I can barely get up off the floor today, and don't feel bad about that. There's nothing wrong with being in the darkness, but I just want to tell you that there is light, and that it's their light. It's your loved one that's still with you. They will shine their light for you. All you have to do is choose to accept it and to believe it, and let them guide you, because like I said, they are your biggest supporters, your best friend in the whole world. There's no ulterior motive for them, even on a subconscious level. They just want us to be here living the greatest story that we could ever live. And so if you are wanting to, if you're feeling nudged to connect with them and to let them be a part of that team that guides you through life, then do it, because you will never regret it. That's my message, is that if you're feeling nudged to it and it feels right in your heart, listen to it, because you won't regret it. It's beautiful living this way, and
Beautiful.
it's not perfect or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying, but it is a beautiful way to live my life. And I'm just encouraging people to open up to it if they feel that nudge.
And Rachel, how can people get a hold of you if they would like to reach out to you with their stories and
Sure.
such?
Well,
Mm-hmm.
we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, and YouTube as well. And it's 411, so FOR, the number 11, and then underscore together. And that's how they would find us. On Instagram, there's a little highlight. There's these little round circles on the homepage, and there's a highlight that says Stories of Connection. And if they click on that, they can send in their story. But they can find a way on all the platforms, but on Instagram, that's the specific one. But yeah, and then we're going to be launching a 411 community soon. So if they're following
Oh,
us on social media, they'll get the word when we do that. Hopefully this fall, I think it's going to be an app, and we'll be able to showcase things that I have learned and that Shane has learned along the way, but we'll also be inviting other spiritual practitioners to join the party. So it'll be, kind of a healing retreat, but just at your home. You can do it. We're just trying to bring this to everybody, make it super accessible for anyone that wants to try the things that have helped us along the way. So there will also be a course in there about, how to connect. I just finished writing it. So there will be a course in there on how to live a more connected way. And it'll showcase everything that I tried over these last almost 8 years, and with stories and practices along the way for anybody that wants to give it a try. So, and I'll kind of walk them through that in the app. So
that's
I'm
excellent. Wow.
really excited for that. I've felt very nudged. This was the next step for sure. And Kenadie has been nudging me all along, and it feels like it's really close to happening, and I'm ready.
That's so wonderful. I'm so happy for you, Rachel. I really am.
Oh,
And I'm
thank
happy
you.
for everybody in your community as well, and all the listeners. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, I'd like to thank you for sharing your story today and inviting us in to your sacred space. You've built with all your community. This episode is truly going to be one of my top ones, just personally for me, because I feel
Oh,
so
thank you.
touched by your experience. Um, I can't say enough, to be honest. So this episode is truly special. It's about connection and spiritual contact and the signs that spirit shows us when they have passed. Let this serve as a reminder that love never dies.
Absolutely.
Thank you again for joining this very special episode. As we close, I want to again honor Kenadie, the light that continues to guide and connect so many hearts, and the entire 411 Together community. If you felt moved by today's conversation, or if you carry your own story or signs or longing for connection, remember that you don't have to carry it alone. Whether you choose to share your story with the world or simply send it as a letter to be read by Rachel in the community, know that every voice matters. Sometimes the courage to share even a small part of your journey can help someone else feel a little less alone. If you need support or just a place to belong, the 411 community is here for you. Let's continue to lift each other up, share our signs, and hold space for miracles that happen when we come together in love. Until next time, stay open to the signs. Keep sharing your stories And remember, love truly never dies.